Good morning, and welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Congregation in New London, Connecticut. I'm Caitlin O'Brien, the Associate Minister, and with me in worship today is liturgist Karen Ethier Waring. It's so good to be with you, Karen. We thank Tammy for our slides and Gary Elliott for musical offerings and Jesse Edwards for pulling everything together technically. In a moment, Noah and Helen will light our chalice. But first, let's settle in to this place and this time with a long breath in and out. From wherever you are coming, in your body or in your mind, we welcome you here to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. You are joyfully called to worship. Please join me in singing a favorite hymn, Morning Has Broken.
Thank you for leading us in song, Caitlin. Now I invite you to join Noah and Helen in speaking our chalice lighting words.
As we kindle this flame,
may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other.
Thank you so much, Noah and Helen and Karen. For our story for all ages, I'd like to address something there's been buzz about in our communities. Some adults in our country are arguing about whether or not to teach kids something in school. And I think you're mature enough to hear it. And many of you already know it. So here goes. Hundreds of years ago, light-skinned people, Europeans and Americans, people from, let's see, here and here. They went to Africa and they kidnapped dark-skinned African people from here. And they took them all the way to America to work for them. I say kidnapped because the Africans were taken against their will. They didn't want to leave their homes, of course. It's a terrible part of our history. The Africans were crowded into boats and brought to America to work for no pay. That's called slavery. Many years after slavery started, some white and Black people worked to end it because they knew it was wrong. Eventually, African slaves were freed in the US, but most of them started out their freedom with almost nothing in the way of education, money or land. The average white family had more of these things. So they were able to save up and pass money on to their kids in a way that Black families could not for generations. That's how something that happened a long time ago can still have ripple effects today. Now, you and I were not alive when this trauma and unfairness got started. We didn't do it, right? Right, but it's still important for us to be aware that we live in a country that started out in this ugly and unfair way. And a lot of that unfairness is still with us today. In recent years, a study in 2016, the typical white family has been about 10 times richer than the typical Black family in the US, 10 times. And that has to do with the head start of generational wealth. As a white person, I'm part of the group that had the head start. And that makes me more likely to have this kind of power in our country. And I'm a part of the group that often gets treated better to this day because of the color of my skin. And I feel responsible to speak up about how that's not fair and to support creative solutions to make our country more fair. I know you can handle knowing this ugly story and that you'll think about it and make your own decisions about what it means for you and your schools and your towns. Because when we know better, we think better. And when we think better, we do better. Thanks for listening. And thanks for learning with me.
Thank you, Caitlin. Present with us now via Zoom are our outreach volunteers. In the first week of social distancing, the caring team, the pastoral visitors team, and a couple of other willing souls merged to become an outreach team of care during the months that we've not been able to come together in person. I light this candle of gratitude for this gracious group of souls.
Yes, with phone calls, emails, and texts, and in some cases, front porch visits, these souls worked with us staff to keep our community connected. We thank you, Ginny Campbell, Kyle Murray, Carol Thompson, Paul Carolyn, Nicolo Festa, Erica Harger, Peg Snow Madura, Betsy Fox, David Horst, Rada Richmond Covey, Kathy Spindler, Michelle Ewers, Linda Sargent, and Heidi Iorio Chris. It has been such a pleasure and an honor weaving the fabric of community with you. And I thank you for all the ways that you've been a friend to our community at such a difficult time. Now, as we return to in-person worship, we don't want to discontinue this outreach because we've found it to be meaningful, but we will begin to make these contacts a little less frequently on more of a quarterly basis. And may our table continue to be gracious and wide. Let us enter into our reading, And the Table Will Be Wide by Jan Richardson.
And the table will be wide, and the welcome will be wide.
And the arms will open wide to gather us in. And our hearts will open wide to receive.
And we will come as children who trust there is enough. And we will come unhindered and free.
And our aching will be met with bread, and our sorrow will be met with wine.
And we will open our hands to the feast without shame. And we will turn toward each other without fear.
And we will give up our appetite or despair.
And we will taste and know of delight.
And we will offer bread for a hungering world. And we will offer drink for those who thirst.
And the blessing will become the blessing.
And everywhere will be the feast.
May it be so. Amen. How lucky we are to be in such good company. A college friend of mine lost her father when she was a teenager. In our young adult years, she became curious about the perfume industry because of the memories that smells can evoke. One day she sat her younger brothers down, had them close their eyes, and she held under their noses a scent of the cologne their father used to wear. It was a profound moment for her and her siblings. There was a way in which it brought him back for a moment. Now, it sounds odd, but I used to associate the smell of a dollar bill with my father. It's not that he was Daddy Warbucks or anything. It's that the smell of a dollar bill would transport me to church on Sunday morning by his side in the pew. He used to give me $1 to hold on to for putting in the offering basket. And to sniff a dollar bill takes me back there when we stood and sat and knelt throughout the Mass. And he'd sometimes entertain me by holding my hand and squeezing it once. And then I'd squeeze his once. And then he'd squeeze mine twice. And then I'd squeeze his twice, and so on. We log so many hours with our family members. All kinds of things are done and said. But so much of it can get distilled into sensory moments like these. The softness of summer air these days is one of those senses that also transports me right back to my childhood, to those long summer days with nothing in particular to do. There was a freedom and a spaciousness. I'm sure there was boredom too, but I don't specifically remember that. My kids are home from school now, withdrawing emotionally from the engaging structure of a school day. And I can't tell you how many times I have heard the question, what do I do now? Oh, I've succumbed to the temptation to answer the question with suggestions like, hey, you could read a book, or you could finally open the craft or Lego kit they had so desperately wanted. Never do these suggestions solve the problem. And I've learned it's really best not to try. No matter how clever my suggestions are, that sharpness isn't what the moment is calling for. On my more mindful days, I say, I don't know, what do you think? And I sit with the icky feeling of not having fixed something. And the more I keep my mouth shut, the more my kids seem to learn to lean into the spaciousness of the summer air. For example, as I stepped away to write this very paragraph, there was whining at first, but it quieted down when I, the audience, had left the room. And soon I overheard my child whispering to themselves with their stuffed animals in the other room, contentedly stretching into the space of imagination. Thank goodness that at least on this occasion, I didn't get in the way of that. I remember whispering to my stuffed animals too. I would sit them on my bed and play church with them. I'd line them up in the pew and whisper to them, squeeze their hand once and then twice, and give them fake dollar bills. Ah, the places our minds can take us. Maybe the soft summer air reminds you, as it does me, of childhood days with nowhere to urgently be. And that soft air, it may be what we all need right about now. We're coming out, we hope, of a collective trauma that we haven't fully made sense of yet. And it's as though we're in the recovery room, emerging from a very strange sleep. For us, the soft summer air is about as much as we can handle sometimes. So I'd like to suggest that you use it as a sensory signal to remember to be soft with one another. We're groggy and tender in the recovery room. We're a little lost, a little restless. We need to be soft with one another. Our listening circles and the online thought exchange, they felt soft in this good way. There was space for people to stretch into the expression of things that matter to them. There was uninterrupted sharing and listening, a practice so simple and so profound. A theme that came up in our listening circles and on the online thought exchange was actually about spaciousness. Specifically, it was about actual space in the coffee hour. Many of you voiced wanting to experience coffee hour differently going forward, with more room for you and me and us. We're exploring strategies for that, making the table more wide, so to speak. Let's give each other some space. Not too much space. We want to see you back in the mix when you can, but let's approach each other like soft summer air. Mindfulness teaches us that our senses, they can help us get out of our heads. When you're feeling anxious or preoccupied, you're supposed to look around and identify what your senses are taking in. And very simply, the walls are beige. The temperature feels cool. That person over there has curly blonde hair. I smell garlic cooking nearby, and so on. Our senses can redirect us to better presence. I encourage you to notice the soft summer air and let it remind you to tread lightly with one another. The sacred text of Taoism says, quote, "Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life." Now, to read the Tao Te Ching is to engage in a literary exploration of complementarity and balance, right? Both and. So you don't employ your softness at the expense of your sharpness. And all souls will certainly need your sharpness too in the coming months. This month, we've started getting the building ready, and there are plenty of concrete tasks to help on that. And don't get me wrong, the type A doer in me loves that stuff. My neighbor loaned me her carpet cleaner last week, and I was literally unstoppable for hours. For hours. It is so satisfying. So for the projects that lie before us at All Souls, let's be active and sharp, yes. And for the relationships within this circle, let us be present with openness and softness so that our table will be experienced as gracious and wide, with room for all of us disciples of life. Let us say amen.
Each week, we pause to pay attention to the joy and sorrow that we experienced in the week just passed. There are two ways to share. One is by email to belovedcommunity@allsouls.net. Joys and sorrows that are received by 2 p.m. on Thursday are read aloud in the Sunday service. Also, right now, you can join by entering your joy or sorrow into the chat, where it will be witnessed and held by those gathered virtually here. As you type your joys and sorrows in the chat, Reverend Caitlin and I will light candles of intention for a minute of shared silence.
Amen and blessed be. It is with such sadness that I share that Kathy Spindler's grandson, Tyler, died unexpectedly on July 4th after a struggle with addiction. We hold this news tenderly. We hold Kathy and her family tenderly as they walk the days and weeks to come. Let's take a deep breath in and out. I invite you to settle into your sense of what is sacred and just be there. It's been said of the religious life that there are many ways up the mountain, and perhaps there are many mountains. I invite you to settle into your grounding in this moment in time. Settle into the values you hold dear. Remember the love and support of this community as you face the week to come. And remember that you are a disciple of this life. You are both sharp and soft, and all of you is welcome at this table. Amen, and blessed be. I hope you'll join Karen in singing our closing hymn, Come Sing a Song with Me.
time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Thank you so much, Karen, for your beautiful singing. I love that hymn's message of simple companionship, simple and profound companionship. Come dream a dream with me. Let us now enter into our chalice extinguishing with the help of Noah and Helen.
Please join us in saying the chalice extinguishing words. Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion.
As we've been doing for months now, I invite you to place a hand on your heart and to reach out to the community virtually gathered here. While urging us to be gentle with ourselves at this time of re-emerging, Reverend Jake Morrill said to think in terms of generations, not in weeks. Generations. May our outlook be expansive. May our presence be one of softness, and may our table be graciously wide. Go in peace and return again with great joy. Amen.
As ever, All Souls is grateful for your financial support. You can give via PayPal, Venmo, or a mailed check. The giving links are in the YouTube description. Build and Refresh volunteers are needed in the next few weeks. Please check your e-blast to sign up for a specific date and task. If you have questions, get in touch with Reverend Mark Robel. Thank you, Mark, for organizing this beloved and such an important task so that we can regather together. Reverend Carolyn and Perry Montrose are both on vacation this week and will return the following week. We wish them a joyous vacation. Now, let's enjoy Gary's postlude, The Summer Wind.